would also be remiss if we didn't get Ted Czech in here this morning, who is our recovering newspaper man. He also is the author of the book, Saving the Beast, a recovering reporter reflects on America's broken media and how to fix it. Good morning, Ted. How are you?
Hey, Gary. I'm doing much better than a week ago, and I have to say, you and Mark were just talking about music. You're talking about Year of the Cat. I love the way that you sample New York Groove from Ace Frehley at the, I don't know if it's at the top of the hour or at the intro to your show, but I always love that song by Ace Frehley.
Thank you. Appreciate that. It was all, I think Daryl came up with that. I'm not sure.
Yes, it was Daryl, yeah.
Yeah, so we have to give Daryl Henry the credit for that, and much that hurt us, but we're going to do that. Anyway, great to have you in this morning, Ted. So the big story this week has been these tariffs, and man, everybody is just, you talk about the roof falling on the president right now, and a lot of people saying, oh, there's no possibility he's going to work, and so forth. But you look at it from a newspaper point of view. How are the newspapers, and how's the news in general, news people in general, handling this so far?
Yeah, so when I look out on the mainstream media to see what they're up to, it's overwhelmingly negative towards these terrorists. Kind of reminds me of, you remember an animated show years ago, probably in the 70s, called Gulliver's Travels.
Oh yeah, yeah.
There was a little dude named Glum, and he would say, "We're doomed. We'll never make it. It can't work."
Right.
That's what this reminds me of. Instead of articulating Trump's plan, even entertaining the idea that maybe he's got some sort of plan here, some sort of idea of where this is going, because he's a businessman. Maybe it's just possible that he's kind of this ask for the moon, get people to the negotiation table, and then broker a deal and still come out on top. Maybe that's his plan, and they're not even looking into that.
Yeah, I don't think you're necessarily saying it's right or wrong, but just entertaining at least the possibility that there could be something to this instead of just saying, well, it's Trump, therefore it must be wrong. Because there is that thought process. There's also the thought process in the country, which is no more right either. Well, it's Trump, it must be right. Okay, so I look at it and say, okay, he's my president. All right, so now I want to see this policy. I want to examine this policy. What's the long game here? What's he trying to do? And I didn't think that he necessarily enunciated that all that well and why this is so good. So I went to the White House website last week and I was reading the reasons why they said this was going to work. And I said, well, I may not agree with all those, but at least there's some rationale there that makes some sense. And I understand he's trying to bring manufacturing back here. But again, I look at that and I say, well, it's my job then to examine that. So what is the job of the media here? Is it the job of the media to somehow pile on? Is it the job of the media to say, well, this is stupid and ridiculous and it's Trump, so it has to be bad? Or is it the job of the media as the fourth estate to say, okay, here's what the policy is. Here's what they say they're trying to use it for, and try to keep it as objective as they can. What's your thought on that?
Right, yeah, absolutely. I agree with you that, there needs to be some fairness in the media. They need to practice what I call true journalism, which is, as you mentioned, being objective, being fair, being accurate, timely, and balanced. And, I was hard pressed to find anything, any type of balance. But I did find, after some searching, I did find some news that appears as though the mainstream media is not really covering all that much. But I did find it. GM increased truck production in Indiana following these tariffs. And also Ford, they're giving employee discounts to all buyers.
Right.
So, it appears as though these things are due to the, imposing of the tariff.
Right.
So that's just something that's happened recently.
Well, and that's reported factually because they are. I mean, they're giving basically employee pricing to a lot of people out there now, and everybody wants to buy a Ford. So you're going to see Ford have a whole lot of sales here before the tariffs really kick in here in May, when you see the whole results of what went down. And they're saying, they're getting all this in ahead of time before they have to, pay the price up front. And so, is that objective reporting? Yeah, it is, because that's what's happening.
Right, and it's advantageous to the American public.
Right. So you could say, okay, you want to go get a deal, go buy a car right now. Let me ask you this question: as a newspaper guy, when you had to write a story, maybe you didn't come across this that much. I don't know, Ted, but when you had to write a story, and it was on something just absolutely, the explanation was ridiculous, or the proposal that was made was ridiculous. How do you find the balance point between saying, okay, I got to report this objectively, and this story is just so far off the charts, I don't know if I can do that. How do you rectify that as a person who has to report that kind of thing?
Well, as a journalist, you either generate your own story ideas or you assign them from your editor. So if you're assigned a story, it's really, you can voice some opposition, some pushback, but generally speaking, you're going to be told to cover the story. Because the editor, that's the reality, is the editors have made the decision that you need to cover the story. So you kind of have to take off your opinion hat and just cover it the best you can. You just be a professional and put on your journalist hat. Take off your opinion hat. Go ahead.
Do you have a general sense that people now cannot do that? That in a general sense, I'm not going to tattoo everybody, because there are some people, very good newspaper people around the country,
right,
very good news reporters. But in a general sense, there's a lot of people say, well, wait a minute, if it comes down to, do I act objective even though I look at this story and it looks ridiculous to me, or do I act according to what I believe in, what my thoughts are, what my opinion is? It seems like the latter seems to be where a lot of people go. I don't know. Your thoughts?
Well, yeah, in my book I tackled this subject because it is this is the kind of the new wave, or actually it's been kind of infecting colleges and universities for probably the last 2 decades, is this advocacy journalism, where journalists have been somehow given the moral high ground,
right,
to choose a side and then reflect that in their stories. That's not true journalism. That's not the way that the craft was meant to be practiced.
They were given the moral high ground, I think, in the beginning, to say, all right, you're to check on the government, you're to check on things by reporting the truth. And so
right,
now you say, well, if we report our version of the truth, or our ideological version of the truth, that's the same thing, and it certainly is not.
Correct. It is not, and that's one topic that I go over in the book, and I'm just trying to get my book out there to like department heads, journalism department heads at colleges and universities, see if we can at least have a discussion, have a conversation about how they're teaching young journalists, because they're the future. These students, they then graduate and they get hired by media outlets. So that's where we need to start the change of how we're teaching.
Well, and what you said today is so important, Ted, that the idea, if you're given a story or if you're assigned a story and you say, geez, this story looks ridiculous. I got to cover Trump changing the name of Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America. This looks insane. Well, you can say that, but then you say, but I got to report on the story. Okay, why is he doing that? What did he say? Here's what would happen. Here's what he's talking about, and let it up to that's the one thing too. Let it up to the reader to make the choice. In other words, are the readers smart enough? I think today a lot of newspaper people, not just newspaper, but news people, think that the readers aren't that smart, and that they somehow have to explain it to them so that they will get what they're supposed to get. Whereas just put out the facts. Kind of like Dragnet and Joe Fry, put out the facts, just the facts, man, and then you can decide, we trust you'll make some kind of decision about this, and it is what it is.
Yeah, critical thinking. It's that journalists have forgotten, or I don't know if it's willful, that they don't believe that the American public has critical thinking. They're not giving the American public enough credit.
Right.
People have their own minds, and they can conduct their own research. You just lay it all out there for them. That's what I say in the book. Lay it all out there for them, and let them decide. Make that, say you write an article, or you have something on cable news or whatever. present everything, present all sides, and let the reader or the viewer take it from there.
And I think you've hit on a big point this morning. I don't think we generally trust them. I don't think Congress, for example, trusts the American people to do the right thing anymore. I don't think that government trusts the American people to do the right thing anymore, except when it comes down to asking to vote every 2, 4, 6 years. And I don't think that newspapers and news in general trust the American people to think anymore. And I think just the opposite is true. I think that despite the fact that we think we're pretty erudite and a lot of these people are a lot smarter than the rest of us, I think the American people have an intrinsic intelligence that is pretty good overall. But we'll continue to talk about that. Ted, Saving the Beast, a recovery report reflects on America's broken media, how to fix it. Where can people find it?
They can find it everywhere online. It's on Amazon, it's on Books A Million, it's on Barnes & Noble. So anywhere you can find book retailers online, you can find my book.
And I'm going to be asking you to get on my new podcast on Just the Voice on Main Street. So we're going to be talking about getting you on there as well and having people see you there and talking about this book as well. So
that's awesome, Gary. That's awesome. I didn't know you were working on that.
There you go. It's out there now. It's up on YouTube. Just the Voice on Main Street. I've already done about 4 of them so far, and you are going to be number 5. I'll be talking about that in a little bit, okay?
Oh, that's awesome.
Thanks,
Look
buddy.
forward to it.
Thanks, Ted. Talk to you again next Friday, okay? Take care.
Yep, we'll do. Bye.
Ted Czech.